North Korea remains one of the world's most secretive and controlled states, where difficult truths hide beneath relentless propaganda. But what does daily life look like for women serving in its military? Beyond the image of disciplined soldiers, many face difficult realities, from grueling labor and harsh discipline to serious challenges and roles that few outsiders ever hear about. What drives women to endure this, and what does their experience reveal about life under one of the most oppressive regimes on Earth? Let's explore. Life in the barracks is challenging, with soldiers sleeping on mattresses filled with rice hulls, which absorb moisture and can lead to uncomfortable conditions. Alongside cramped living arrangements, female soldiers face limited access to basic amenities like electricity and other essentials. Before 2015, female soldiers often had to use improvised sanitary pads made from bandages due to severe shortages of proper supplies. The demanding environment, paired with insufficient nutrition, significantly affects their health and well-being. Showering often involves cold water from hoses, and small creatures like frogs or snakes are sometimes found in the pipes. These conditions reflect not just physical discomfort but also the lack of adequate infrastructure for the troops. Moreover, female soldiers frequently face additional difficulties navigating the military's rigid hierarchy, where their needs are not always prioritized. One of the realities faced by women in North Korea's military involves a deeply controversial and secretive aspect of the regime. Despite their resilience and capability, some women in the military are considered to have a difficult alternative: involvement in what is locally known as the Kipumjo, or so-called pleasure squads. But what exactly are these squads? The origins of these groups trace back to Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, and the practice continued under Kim Jong-il. After Kim Jong-il died in 2011, the squads were reportedly disbanded temporarily, only to be reinstated by Kim Jong-un around 2015. These squads are said to consist of those selected to provide various services to the leader and high-ranking officials. Reports suggest that up to 2,000 people are divided into groups tasked with different roles, including attending to officials and providing entertainment through music and dance. Notably, when Kim Jong-il established these squads, a height restriction was imposed for recruits, believed to reflect the leader's preferences. They selected often lived in the leader's residence and served for extended periods before transitioning into other roles within the military. When Kim Jong-un assumed leadership, he initially disbanded the squads, providing compensation and gifts. However, 4 years later, in 2015, the squads were reportedly reinstated. Let's dig deeper to better understand the challenges faced by these soldiers. Accounts from defectors revealed difficult experiences, where some women, particularly from less privileged backgrounds, are assigned to physically demanding tasks such as construction brigades, often in less secure environments. Even when there may be avenues for assistance, many women choose not to report these challenges due to fear of possible repercussions. There are reports of officers requiring female soldiers to remain beyond their official duties or conducting additional examinations, sometimes under the stated purpose of monitoring well-being. Raising concerns publicly could negatively affect their future, including their chances of joining the influential Korean Workers' Party, membership in which is often essential for social and professional advancement. As a result, many women feel unable to speak out and endure hardships in silence. In cases where an unexpected pregnancy occurs, female soldiers are expected to handle the situation discreetly and quickly to avoid complications. Military interventions in such cases are reported to be physically and emotionally difficult, with minimal medical support available. Before continuing, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, please hit the notification bell and subscribe. It helps this channel so much. And if you do that, I will do everything I can to make this show even better for you. Deal? However, the challenges don't stop with these. The disciplinary measures imposed within the military paint an even more difficult life for these women. Life in North Korea's military, particularly for female soldiers, is marked by a set of strict disciplinary measures and demanding expectations. Jennifer Kim, a former soldier, shared her experiences, shedding light on the not-so-nice environment in their service. Even a single mistake by one individual could result in shared responsibilities or collective consequences for the entire group, emphasizing the importance of teamwork and vigilance. Kim described the rigorous nature of their daily routines, which sometimes involved enduring extended hours in cold weather, but wearing only minimal attire as part of resilience training. In some instances, soldiers were required to complete up to 100 laps in full gear, reflecting the emphasis on building endurance and perseverance. One particularly challenging experience Kim recounted involved a resilience exercise where soldiers were instructed to dip their hands in cold water and place them on cold metal surfaces. This method aimed to cultivate mental toughness in the face of harsh conditions. These experiences offer insight into the disciplined and demanding environment within North Korea's military. It's a place where resilience, teamwork, and dedication are continually reinforced. How do these measures compare to what you know about military life elsewhere? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever wondered what life is like for women in the North Korean military? Just like their male counterparts, female soldiers face days filled with not only military drills but also labor tasks ranging from farming to construction work. It's a world where everyone is expected to pull their weight. However, what's rarely discussed is the additional burden women carry due to their assigned gender roles. Leaked footage has revealed scenes of female soldiers working tirelessly in fields, clearing farmland and hauling heavy loads of firewood or rocks on their backs. They're expected to shoulder these physically demanding tasks right alongside their male colleagues, but their day doesn't end there. In the North Korean military, women also take on domestic responsibilities that men aren't required to perform. They're called cooking pot lid drivers, reflecting their expected role in kitchen duties. Once their labor-intensive day is done, these women are responsible for preparing meals and maintaining cleanliness for the entire unit. Now let's discuss an issue that deeply affects these women's lives: extreme food shortages. The diet for female soldiers in North Korea is not only insufficient but is also reported to weaken them physically and mentally. Their daily rations typically consist of a small bowl of rice, watery cabbage soup, and pickled radishes. This minimal sustenance is what they rely on while performing physically demanding labor for 12 to 16 hours a day. Nutritional deficiencies are widespread, with many women experiencing stunted growth, chronic fatigue, and weakened immune systems that make them vulnerable to illnesses that would be treatable elsewhere. According to various reports, this situation is not solely due to economic hardship but may also reflect a deliberate strategy by the regime. It is believed that maintaining control over the population is a priority for the regime, which includes managing resources in a way that limits resistance. While vast resources are invested in military capabilities, many soldiers endure significant shortages in necessities such as food. After completing all these duties, each receiving a small bunk and a modest set of drawers holding their entire worldly possessions. Even in these private moments, the regime's control is absolute. Above each bunk, it is mandatory to display photographs of the nation's leaders. Traditionally, this meant Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, but recent reports suggest this now includes Kim Jong-un. Even in their most personal space, these women cannot escape the watchful eyes of the authorities. The psychological impact of this constant surveillance is often described as profound. Imagine never having a single moment free from reminders of your place within the system. Every time they lie down to sleep, these women are confronted with the faces of the men who control every aspect of their existence. Yet beyond their heavy workload and traditional roles, the introduction of mandatory military service for women marked a significant change, driven by the country's challenges with manpower and declining birth rates. The famine from 1994 to 1998 notably affected the population, leading to a shortage of military personnel. To address this, the government began actively recruiting women. However, like many armed forces worldwide, enlistment involves passing a series of physical tests and medical exams. Since 2012, an additional height requirement has been introduced. Women must be at least 1.42 meters tall. Although this rule may not always be strictly enforced. While not officially confirmed, there is speculation that exceptionally talented students might be exempt from service. Before 2015, some women joined the North Korean military voluntarily. Why? Because membership in the Korean Workers' Party offered certain benefits. Once accepted, women gained better opportunities beyond military service. Inside the army, privileges such as increased rations, improved job prospects, and higher salaries became available. Considering the typically meager food rations, a simple bowl of rice, cabbage soup, and salted radish, these perks were certainly appealing, especially for those stationed in the harsh conditions of Pyongyang. So, what do you think about the implications of mandatory military service in North Korea? Share your thoughts in the comments. The regime subjects female soldiers to extreme physical endurance tests that go beyond standard military training. These demanding exercises include forced marches in freezing conditions, carrying heavy equipment, lengthy runs in full gear under harsh weather, and practices such as immersing hands in ice water followed by contact with cold metal surfaces until numbness occurs. Medical experts and former soldiers have described these practices as causing serious hardship and mental stress. Reports indicate that the regime may prioritize control and discipline over the physical and mental well-being of these women, who are often expected to endure such conditions without regard for potential injury or lasting psychological effects. Former soldiers also recall seeing comrades collapse from exhaustion, suffer frostbite, or experience mental breakdowns, with weakness often attributed to personal failings rather than the severity of the training. When female soldiers complete their mandatory service, many face another significant challenge: state-arranged marriages. Rather than being based on cultural tradition or personal choice, these marriages are reportedly another way the regime extends its influence over these women's lives. Partners are typically men considered politically reliable or individuals whose status within the system benefits from such arrangements. These marriages are often political, with less emphasis on compatibility or personal connection, and more on reinforcing loyalty to the regime. While presented as fulfilling a social duty, these state-managed marriages are understood by some observers to be part of the broader system of control within the country's patriarchal structure. Even after years of military service, female soldiers are often expected to conform to roles aligned with the state's authoritarian framework rather than their aspirations. The timing of these arrangements reportedly follows years of military service, during which women may become conditioned to accept these decisions. Many accounts suggest that resistance to this process can be extremely difficult, resulting in continued compliance with state policies. If you could ask one question to a North Korean female soldier, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. Yet the contrast between these state-arranged marriages and the portrayal of empowered female soldiers raises a critical question. Why does the regime present an image of gender equality while imposing strict controls over the personal lives of these women? For years, North Korean films and state-run news have portrayed female soldiers marching in perfect formation, carrying out their duties alongside men, and confidently brandishing weapons. These visuals are carefully orchestrated to present an image of gender equality and empowerment within the military ranks. But what's behind this portrayal? According to a study published by the Korea Institute for National Unification in 2022, nearly 40% of North Korea's armed forces are women. That's almost half, and on the surface, this statistic seems to support the image of equality that the regime promotes. However, reports from defectors describe a much more challenging reality where female soldiers endure severe hardships. North Korea's propaganda machine has a clear agenda. On one hand, it aims to convince the international audience that North Korea is a progressive society that values and empowers its women. On the other hand, it works to instill a sense of unity and patriotism among its people, feeding them an idealized version of reality that differs from the lived experiences of many. So, what might be behind North Korea's portrayal of female soldiers? It appears to be more than just propaganda. It is a carefully crafted narrative aimed at masking the difficult realities faced by these women in uniform. By controlling this story, the regime maintains its grip on both citizens and global perception. Yet, while the regime crafts a facade of equality through its portrayal of female soldiers, the reality of government-controlled career choices reveals how deeply North Korean women's lives are dictated by state decisions, leaving little room for personal freedom or aspirations. Ordinary women are also subjected to many strictly controlled regulations. In North Korea, career choices are far from personal decisions. The government decides where citizens will work, Can you imagine being assigned a job and told to stay with it for life? That is the reality for most North Korean women. They cannot pursue their interests or passions. Instead, they face a rigid job allocation system designed to maintain what the government calls efficient resource management. So how does it work? Authorities assess labor needs in each sector and assign citizens to jobs based on state priorities. Refusal to comply can lead to serious consequences. This system deeply affects the mindset of North Korea's youth. Most grow up understanding that pursuing personal dreams is not an option. They are taught to accept assigned roles without chances to chase their ambitions. Experts suggest this has contributed to economic challenges, limiting innovation and workforce dynamism essential for sustainable development. When people cannot explore their full potential, a country's progress is naturally impacted. However, despite these difficult conditions, North Korean women have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability. They often become the primary breadwinners of their families, navigating a challenging environment with determination. It's a testament to their strength, even in a system that allows them very little control over their own lives. Want to keep uncovering stories like this? Subscribe and join our community committed to revealing untold voices around the world. Beauty standards are another aspect strongly shaped by the government's conservative ideologies in North Korea. For example, the types of nail polish or skincare products women use are closely monitored by the authorities. Since the end of World War II, wearing makeup has generally been discouraged due to the country's political and cultural separation from South Korea. This restriction has created a challenging environment for North Korean women who, despite limited exposure to global fashion, still desire cosmetics. This demand has led to a growing underground market for smuggled beauty products. In response, the North Korean government established a state-owned cosmetics company to control the production and distribution of beauty items. Wearing red lipstick is not allowed, as it is considered too bold for the regime's values of modesty and socialism. However, some women have found ways to express themselves subtly by choosing softer shades that align better with official guidelines. These policies illustrate the ongoing tension between personal expression and government guidelines. How do you think this tension impacts the daily lives of women in North Korea? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The regime enforces strict physical requirements, such as height and appearance restrictions, particularly for women in specialized roles. These rules underscore how rigid and arbitrary the system can be. Women who do not meet certain height criteria are reportedly excluded from various positions. This restriction is said to be linked to the leader's physical stature, illustrating how personal preferences may influence official policies affecting many lives. Such physical requirements highlight a tendency to prioritize appearance over individual merit, capability, or qualities like intelligence and dedication. Rather than assessing women based on their skills or character, the system applies criteria based primarily on physical measurements. This form of discrimination based on immutable physical traits reflects a broader perception within the system that places appearance above competence. When appearance becomes a determining factor over ability, it points to fundamental issues in valuing individuals' contributions and human dignity. Since 2015, North Korea has required all women aged 17 and older to serve in the military, with service periods typically lasting until around age 23. This means that depending on the age at enlistment, women serve between roughly 3 to 7 years, marking a significant portion of their early adult lives. This policy was introduced to alleviate pressure on men who serve longer terms and to address shortages in military personnel resulting from population challenges in previous decades. Women now make up over 10% of North Korea's military force, which is estimated to number around 1.2 million soldiers, ranking among the largest in the world. While service is officially framed as a patriotic duty, many reports from defectors and experts describe difficult conditions throughout these mandatory years. Female soldiers face strict discipline, limited personal freedom, malnutrition, and significant psychological pressure. The long service period and harsh environment are believed to have profound effects on their lives, shaping their roles within society and the state. By the time women complete their military service, many say they have undergone intense conditioning designed to ensure loyalty to the regime. This extensive period of service reflects the government's strong control over women's lives and highlights the challenges faced by those who serve. What does life in North Korea's military look like for women? Behind the propaganda of confident female soldiers lies a harsh truth. These women face widespread abuse, starvation, psychological distress, and total control over their lives. Though the regime claims gender equality, women in the military are victims of severe oppression, not empowered defenders. These realities reveal how authoritarian regimes exploit women, turning them into tools of control. Yet, despite unimaginable hardships, many show incredible resilience. So next time you see North Korean military parades or propaganda, remember the real stories behind the images. These women endure suffering that most cannot imagine and continue to survive in a system that exerts strict control over their lives. What shocked you most about these revelations? Have you heard other stories about life in North Korea that surprised you? Let me know in the comments below what other secretive countries or hidden realities you'd like me to investigate next. If this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know before, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that mainstream media won't tell you. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss when we uncover another shocking truth. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.